Good morning, everybody. I'm Councillor Judith Smythe, normally Vice Chair of this Planning Committee, chairing the committee today in the absence of Councillor Susie Horton, who can't be with us. Just to start with a few introductory remarks, if the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and public gallery by the stairwells. Don't attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble at the turning circle at the end of King Henry Street past the University Park building. In order to comply with the Guildhall Trust fire marshal regulations, everyone who signed in at the Guildhall reception desk should sign out when leaving the building at the end of today's meeting. Limited public seating has been made available, but this meeting is also being webcast to allow the public to watch remotely if they wish. Everyone speaking via a microphone will be on camera, except those on the right side, and you're not visible up there. Come down if you want to be visible. Members of the press and public are permitted to record the meeting on the understanding that it doesn't disrupt the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded. Is there anybody in the room who wants to state that? No. Good, thank you. Please can everyone speaking use the microphones and remember to switch them off when they've finished. And if anybody wants to put their hands and raise it to make me remember to turn mine off, then that's absolutely fine. When voting, please can members keep their hands raised clearly until the number of votes have been stated. And at that point I will indicate whether we're for, against, or abstained. I'd like to introduce everybody in the room. So I've introduced myself, Judith Smythe, Councillor, and I'd like to do the members of the committee first. Councillor Mason.
Councillor Hugh Mason. I am a member for St Jude Ward.
Thank you.
Councillor Peter Candlish, Eastern Inn Craneswater.
Yeah, I'm Councillor Lee Hunt, and I cover Nelson Ward, along with Councillor Adair, and that's Stamshall, Tipner, Buckland and North End areas. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Councillor Matthew Cordy, member for Hilsey.
Councillor Chris Dyke for Paulsgrove Ward.
Good morning, everyone. Councillor Ian Cardinal, Charles Dickens Ward.
Morning, Councillor Vallely for Cosham and Wimmering.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. I thought for a moment we weren't going to have a quorum. Thank you. Councillor Adair, are you here or not? Sort of just here in a...
I most certainly am here. So it's Councillor Richard Adair for Nelson Ward. I'm here regarding the item 49 North End Avenue. I understand it's been put off to another day, but I'm here just to see if there's any further updates.
Thank you. You're not substituting for anybody today? No. Thank you very much.
Chair.
So if I could continue with at the back of the...
Chair, I failed to say in my introduction that I am here subbing for Councillor Atwell, who can't make it today and therefore sends his apologies.
Thank you for that. That's clear. Let's write that down. Good. The officers next then, starting with you, Juliet.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Juliet Gill. I'm the Principal Planning and Highways Solicitor for Portsmouth City Council.
Thank you. Simon.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My name's Simon Turner. I'm a team leader.
Morning all. Ed Lee, Senior Planning Officer.
Morning, Chair. David Hodges, Head of Development Management.
Thank you.
Jane Dodino, Local Democracy Officer.
Thank you very much. I'm going to run through the people, those of you here are doing deputations, so that we all know who you are. I've got your names on a list here. Starting over with you, sir.
James Russell Harris from the Old Walk.
Peter Harris.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Dorrington for Eastern Inn Craneswater, here to do a deputation today with regards to 13 Craneswater Avenue.
Thank you.
Good morning, Malcolm Drew. I'm here to speak on behalf of Sherlock's Bar.
Thank you.
Richard Peckham, I'm the joint owner of Sherlock Spa. Thank you.
James Monk, speaking for Sherlock Spa.
Thank you very much. You've all learnt by now that you need then to go quite close to the microphone. So absolutely, your turn next.
Thank you. Good morning. Mark Harris from Freeths, here on behalf of the University of Portsmouth.
The others are not speaking, is that right? Okay, thank you very much. Right, thank you. For clarification of proceedings, each agenda item will be presented in the following order. First of all, the officers' planning application presentation. Secondly, any deputation. And we allow up to 12 minutes in favour and 12 minutes objecting. So if there are a lot of you wanting to speak, either to object or in favour of something, you'd have to divide the 12 minutes between you. Is that understood? Good, thank you. Then members' questions and comments, and during that time, we don't enter into dialogue with any of the people here, any other members of the public, and then we make a planning decision. Is that okay? Good, okay, well then, I have apologies of absence from Councillor Horton and Councillor Chris Atwell.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, here he is now.
Here he is now. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Councillor Standham, Reform UK, Paulsgrove Ward.
Thank you very much. Good, so we've done apologies of absence. Are there any declaration of interest of anything on the agenda? Councillor Mason.
Although it's a non-material interest, I think for the record, I know to note that I am a former employee and a former governor of the institution of the University of Portsmouth.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm objecting to 25 Powers Court Road. So I'll listen to the report, make my views known, and then leave the room.
Thank you.
Come back afterwards, I think.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest? Okay, well, I've got a little announcement to make about the agenda. Item 6 is 49 North East Avenue. North End Avenue, sorry, yes. 49 North End Avenue, and we are deferring that because there's been a sort of technical issue, and the officers need a bit more time to look at that. Councillor Hunt.
Well, thank you very much for that. Can we understand why this happens? It doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen sometimes. And it strikes me odd that at the 11th hour, when I was speaking to the residents last night, going up and down the street with Councillor Adair, just to make sure everything was tickety-boo, I found it wasn't tickety-boo. So it would be nice just to learn how it happened and hopefully improve the systems.
David, will you be able to?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, we were advised, apologies, the light's right in my face and on the screen you can't see a thing. I shall move in a second. Yes, it was brought to our attention yesterday, possibly Monday, that one of the objectors to the scheme had not been informed of the planning committee meeting date and time, and they were unable to attend as a result. So it was unfair for us to continue to deal with the application today where they potentially would like to make a deputation and they were prejudiced in doing so. So we're looking to postpone the application back for 2 weeks. It's an administrative error. It does happen occasionally. It hasn't happened in my time. In the last 15 months since I've been here, to the best of my knowledge, but occasionally errors may happen where one slips through the net. So that's the reason in this case.
I'm most grateful. That clears it all up. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Is anybody here to... all the people who were going to be here have been informed that it's been deferred, but is anybody here who expected to do it today, in which case you're very welcome to leave or to hear the rest of the meeting as you wish. Okay. Sorry about that. Does happen sometimes. Not very often. So we're going to move on to item 4. Sorry. Oh, the minutes of the meeting, yes. Yep. Is everybody happy with the minutes of the meeting held on 12th of November, page 3 to 8 on your report? Thank you. Thank you very much. Proposed by Councillor Masons, and yeah, we'll sign that as a correct record. So item 4 then is a full planning application for University House, Winston Churchill Avenue, Portsmouth, and it's page 19 to 20 in your agenda. Could I have for your report, please?
Morning, members. So we have a application for the demolition of existing buildings and construction of a new teaching and learning building at University House on Winston Churchill Avenue. Just some SMAT to run through first. One further objection from the Portsmouth Society, which wasn't noted in the report. That's summarised in the SMAT, which is basically just around the design of the scheme. Just to confirm, secondly, that we carried out the correct legal tests in assessing the impact on Charterhouse, the Grade 2 listed building. And thirdly, just to make members aware that a detailed response from the university with regards to the light impact on the Old Forge and Charterhouse has been received and circulated, but nothing new is raised in this, and we don't intend to change the recommendation based on it. So, start taking you through the application. This is the site. You can see the existing building laid out in a sort of L shape, which protects the views of Charterhouse. And on the right, you can just see the current layout of the building from an aerial view. Car park into the rear, lots of trees around the boundary and a couple in the car park. Just to take you on a short walk around the site, this is the frontage looking south from Winston Churchill Avenue. Charterhouse just to the right there. This is the front view, again looking southerly from Winston Churchill Avenue with Charterhouse on the right. This is looking north down the side view, so you can see these are the two ancillary buildings I think they're currently used for security purposes. This is looking along Melbourne Place. To the right you'll note the low-level car park, which is the Summers Orchard site. Members will be aware of the Summers Orchard development. I think, Simon, that was issued yesterday. Yep. So planning permission granted in there. And this is looking north along St Vincent Street. So just on the other side of the development, looking towards Winston Churchill Avenue, you'll note that there's some council-run on-street car parking in that area and some low-level hedges and trees, again, around the whole site. Just to give members an idea of the development, so on the left you can see the existing layout of the site, and on the right you can see the proposed development. Members will note that there'll be a significant loss of car parking and trees due to the vastly increased footprint of the proposal. So one of the main issues that has been identified in this application is the proposed loss of trees. These aren't TPO or in a conservation area, but our policies still give them weight in terms of amenity value and biodiversity and ecology and things like that. So just in summary, there would be 31 of the 42 trees on site felled. They would be replaced by 22 new specimens. I think around 15 of those would be on the roof terraces. So that has slightly more limited street amenity value and ecology value than if they were at street level. Just to take you through the proposed design of the development. This is the front elevation, so you'd be looking at it from Winston Churchill Avenue in this instance. Just on the right of that image, you can see Charterhouse, which again is a Grade 2 listed building. So it's a little bit higher than that. This is the rear elevation, fairly similar in terms of its design from front to back. Just to take you through some CGIs, just to give you the context, you can see the existing building in the top left of the screen there. And in the bottom right image, you can see a CGI image of the proposed building. Again, just another CGI image here, looking at it from a different angle. You can see Charterhouse on the right. In both images, top left being existing and the bottom right being proposed. This is just another CGI looking at it from a slightly different angle. You can see the proposal in the bottom right image. Just to take you through the floor plans of the proposal very briefly, there'll be a lot of new lab space and new teaching space provided by this proposal. Just some further second and third floor plans there. You can see the roof terraces on the right image that contain some of the trees. And then finally, the upper floor with the upper floor, fourth floor roof terrace and the roof plan. So this proposal would increase effectively the site's boundary, building it towards St Vincent Street, and that would result in the loss of some parking, on-street parking run by the council. That would be converted into a loading bay for waste collection and deliveries, etc. Just to give you a bird's eye view of the proposed new road layout, so you can see on the left image the space that would be provided for loading and unloading. Just to give you some context in terms of the relationship with Summers Orchard, you can see this, the proposal site in this instance circled red on this image, with the green areas to the south of that being pedestrianised zones as proposed in the Summers Orchard development. One of the other issues that we raised was the impact on the Old Forge, which is a building, residential building around halfway down the site, just south of Charterhouse. This is an image provided by the objectors just to show the relationship with their front windows and the proposal. And this is a light study provided by the university as part of their original sunlight assessment, with the orange area shown on that being a loss of light. So you can see on the right of that image the three windows that look onto the application site. Just to give you an idea of this site in the context of the university's master plan, you can see that there's quite a few developments happening under the master plan. I think the most notable ones in this instance would be the site of the former Nuffield building, which has been converted to cycle storage, a cycle hub, which would provide long to medium stay cycle parking for this development, being that this development can't provide any cycle storage on site. And then just to the right of the image, the Alden building, which has recently got permission to be used as a multi-storey car park, which would provide and effectively replace the off-street parking lost in this proposal. Just finally to finish, unfortunately due to those issues raised, and as explained in the report, we are recommending for refusal in this instance. But members may wish to give different weight to the positives and benefits of this this proposal in terms of its contribution to education facilities and investment in the city centre. So this is just a short summary of the university's perceived public benefits and contribution. I'm sure the university will take you through the benefits in more detail, but happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We come on to questions and comments later on, but deputations now. We have 12 minutes available for those in favour of the development and 12 minutes available for people objecting. Could those in favour, I hope you've decided you're going to do the speaking, are you? Yeah, good. Over to you then.
Yes, Chair, thank you.
The objectors go first.
Oh, sorry, it says in the here it does. Are there any objectors to the scheme here? Good. Sorry, would you like to go first?
Yes, I would like to go first, thank you.
Good.
So, thank you, Chair, members of the committee, for allowing me to speak today. My name is James, and together with my husband, Peter, we have lived at the Old Forge, the only house on the street, for 26 years, the longest neighbour of the University House. 26 years of pouring our hearts, our savings, our lives into turning a derelict commercial shell into a loved home, a home that actually enhanced the conservation area. We are not NIMBYs, we are not troublemakers, we are the people who have to live with the impact of the proposed development, or try to live with the consequences of your decisions today. We hoped, truly hoped, that every single one of you would have read our objection letter today, because if you have, then you would already know what this proposal will do to us. Let me make this very, very clear. They want to erect a monstrous 6-storey wall of glass and steel 9 metres away from my house. 9 metres. Imagine waking up every morning to find a tower block staring straight into your living room. Imagine every private moment on your roof terrace or garden, the place you escape to breathe, watched by hundreds of strangers from 5 floors of overlooking windows. This is not a minor inconvenience. This is the end of privacy, the end of peace, the end of home. They will steal 68% of our daylight and sunlight. 68%. Habitable rooms plunged into perpetual gloom. A roof terrace turned into a shadow, unusable space. Even their own report admits this, yet brushes it aside with calculations even they know are flawed. Try living like that, just try. And when the low winter sun hits the 5-storey western facade, we will be blinded. New glint, new glare, new misery from which we would be difficult to manage on top of what we already endure from the existing building. 31 mature trees planted in 1986 and 2 Category A trees in Waltham Street, which should have been TPO placed on them a long time ago by the university, gone. Our green corridor, our birds, our air sacrificed. And in return, a promise to plant 80 saplings miles away in the South Downs. Tell me, how does a tree in the South Downs benefit the residents of Portsmouth? Or the loss of the biodiversity in the city? I have options, they have options. Well, sorry, I've got a petition from 152 people to save the trees. I've got handouts. There is another site, the Anglesey site. No residents, room for the university to expand as mentioned in their design and access statement. Less harm, greater benefit. And finally, please listen to this. The construction company they have chosen, Waits, has been found guilty of 5 serious health and safety breaches since 2004. Workers' injuries, fatalities, risks to the public. Their most recent conviction, a £640,000 fine for a carbon monoxide leak that could have caused many fatalities. They will be digging foundations, piling, crane lifting, welding 9 metres from where we live. If they cut corners again, and history says there every chance they will, it is our lives on the line. Chair members of the committee, please think for this for a second. Imagine this is your home, your only home, the one you saved for, restored, cherished for 26 years. Imagine someone is about to rip the light from your windows, the privacy from your living room, the trees and open space from your view. You would fight, you would beg, you would stand here pleading like I am today. This development does not have to happen here. It should not happen here. It can be done another way, on another site. Please reject this application for common decency, for fairness for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed for your deputation. Is there anybody, there's nobody else objecting at this meeting, but we've noted the petition that you got up about the trees. Supporters of the application, now it's your turn.
Good morning. I'm Mark Harris, the university's planning consultant. The university is disappointed with the recommendation and believes there is a strong basis for you to grant permission instead. The university is an integral part of the city's social, economic and civic life. As you have seen in the briefing document sent last week, it helps the city thrive in many ways, seen and unseen, resulting in a £505 million per annum contribution to the regional economy. The university's estates master plan is crucial for the city's collective future. It will deliver sustainable, smart developments, resulting in a world-class campus with facilities the city deserves, creating a strategic skills pipeline to match the city's ambitions. Such facilities attract and retain students and academic talent. It will help the City of Portsmouth, particularly with thousands of students from the local area. They can enable the university to grow its reputation and deliver benefits from which the city can thrive. Without new facilities, the university will decline in the highly competitive higher education sector, as students and academics will simply be attracted elsewhere. This will also degrade the local educational offer. The scheme will be a national centre for the Faculty of Technology's Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, or STEM, subjects. The current STEM facilities are inefficient, costly, and are spread over 7 outdated buildings. This building will host the faculty in one accessible and sustainable building, being BREEAM Outstanding and higher than your local plan requires. This is linked with a campus relocation scheme reliant on this building proceeding. In this building, students will learn the skills of tomorrow in state-of-the-art labs, operating in sectors which are high priorities for the UK's industrial strategy and the city. The building alone will deliver 3,500 additional STEM graduates per annum and 100 jobs in Portsmouth with industrial partners such as the Royal Navy. The same result cannot be achieved elsewhere. It is the only site on campus that can accommodate the requirement, and it cannot be delivered in a smaller or set-back building. This was explained in depth in the university's 53-page evidence-based statement submitted with the application, unfairly dismissed as high level in the officer's report. That report also concludes increasing students could have adverse socio-economic implications for the city. That's simply alarming, given the university's role and how your emerging local plan places it within the cultural, economic and civic growth visions. It's more accurate to conclude that without growth and investment in the campus and STEM, there will be adverse social and economic consequences. The site will not sit empty after demolition. The university has appointed Waits as main contractor to start next month, subject to planning permission for delivery, by September 28. Construction alone has significant social value worth 20 million to the city through local jobs, apprenticeships, including for veterans, work experience, school education, and supporting local supply chains. Once complete, this building will provide an additional £35 million per annum to the local economy. The economic and social benefits are all substantial public benefits. This scheme is not an operational convenience for the university, as identified in the report. It's a strategically important scheme that benefits the city. If it doesn't proceed, the university will be left with its ageing estate, not able to attract the talent required, and there will not be the progress the city deserves. You can place significant positive weight on the principle and the scheme's benefits. Dealing with the reasons for refusal, number 1. The scheme provides 22 new trees to part mitigate the necessary tree loss and deal with some of the minor harm. These form part of the 116% increase in trees in the overall estate master plan, all of which can be delivered. The planting, together with the new building, will enhance local amenity and offer biodiversity enhancement. The scheme, in our view, has been designed to respect Charter House. You'll have seen from the images in the university's video how the building respects and not competes. It's a site in a preferred location for tall buildings, which fronts Summers Orchard, backing onto a permitted 32-storey tower building. This scheme should also be ambitious, creating a new front door and a positive route towards Summers Orchard, aligned with your own regeneration ambitions. This and the public benefits can outweigh the less than substantial harm identified by your officers. The building's also distinctive and can qualify as excellent quality architecture to enhance this area and the city. It follows the tradition of the university's commitment to quality and innovative design of an important civic scale that will prevail through its lifetime. It includes landscaping and replacement trees to soften appearance whilst enhancing Winston Churchill Avenue. The impact on both the Old Forge and Charter House can be found acceptable in line with BRE guidance as evidenced by our daylight sunlight expert. This is a dense city centre location and, as I've said, a preferred location for tall buildings. To reuse previously developed land in cities such as yours with finite land resources inevitably leads to change. The guidance can support the level of change and impact identified on residential amenity to deliver growth and renewal. The building can also not be relocated, redesigned or reduced in size to address the neighbours. In our view, the scheme can therefore be found acceptable on its merits. As explained, there are a number of significant public benefits for the city which weigh in the technology building's favour and are substantial when taken as a whole. Therefore, Any limited harm can be easily outweighed by the benefits and other areas of compliance. This alone provides you with sufficient grounds to grant planning permission if you wish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I just add that we have all received a copy from GIAs. That's you, is it, Mark Harris?
That's correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
This document here, it's difficult to read, and some of it, I mean, the text is easy to read, but there are a lot of technical tables in here, so I shouldn't think all of us need to have read every item of that. But can I just record that we have received it, we have read it, and it does supplement a little bit what you've said today, but just to record that we have got that. And you can take it into account when you want to ask questions about this application. So we've now moved to, are there any more speeches in for or against this application? No, okay, thank you. So we're going to now move to members' questions.
I have a number of questions. The first one certainly concerns a matter which was raised by Mr. Harris and is also in the document which we received yesterday. It would appear that the report of the officers and the report of the applicant read the loss of light and the glint and glare effects are incompatible one with the other. I would like to ask, A, is this the result of different methodological approaches? And secondly, is there any way in which these two can be reconciled, or do we have to reject the one or the other as being inaccurate?
So the main harm that we identified resulting in the reason for refusal was the amenity issue caused by the loss of light and the loss of outlook. Glint is sort of slightly harder to quantify in terms of amenity value. So I think I would probably encourage members just to focus on the loss of amenity as explained in the report.
Supplementary. You talk about loss of amenity, but the measures which appear in the document we received yesterday about the availability of light and the amount which is in the reports which we've received from the planning department are incompatible. Why is this? Are they using different methodologies? And is there any way that we can reconcile the two of them to get a clear, objective overview of what will be the damage, if any, and I suspect there certainly will be, to the life of the residents of the old forge?
So again, I'm not an expert on sunlight and glare. I think the most basic way of answering it, I'm sorry, it's not particularly technical, is the diagram that we provided, which shows the loss of light into the internal area of the old forge. I can't.
Would you like to put the slide up again?
Yeah, of course.
Please?
Yeah. There you go. So yeah, just to reiterate, this was provided in the original sunlight assessment of the old forge, and the orange area shows light lost as a result of the proposal.
Could you elaborate that a little bit? Because it, could you explain that a little bit more? Where are the proposed building and where is the old forge house?
Sure. So you can see on the right of the layout of the building, there are some windows they're labelled W2, 3, and 4. So those windows would be facing towards the proposed development.
Are members satisfied that they understand that, or do we need a bit more? Perhaps it could be blown up a little bit. It seems to me the diagram in the top right corner is the one we want to be seeing. And could you explain that to us, please?
Sorry, yeah. So in the diagram, you can see there's a red square in the middle. That's the old forge. And then to the right of that, the sort of larger blue shape is the proposed development site.
And that also gives us a very clear view that it is only 9 metres between. Is it 9 metres is what you said was the distance? Okay. Any other questions from members? Councillor Mason, you had several others, I think, didn't you? Okay.
Chair, if I might just ask for further clarification on the light diagram that we saw, or a further elucidation of it. So those are two absolutes. There's a grey and what we're describing as an orange. That must be at a moment in time, or is this a... You know, I would expect that the light difference to be variable according to, you know, where the sun is, for example. So I don't quite understand the two, or I'd like them explained, the difference between the two absolutes.
I'm going to have to double check the original report and get back to you on that, if that's right. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Russell Harris, for your deputation. Question for you, Ed. You mentioned in the proposal that we'll be losing 31 of the 42 trees on site, with only 22 being replaced, and I believe 15 of which will be on the roof terrace. I just don't see how this will benefit biodiversity, especially if the university has to buy credits from outside of the city. Could you just confirm that if this development were to go through, would we be losing greenery within the city area?
Yeah, so there's two different aspects to think about in terms of biodiversity. So you've got the statutory 10% net gain, which was brought in a couple of years ago. The university are able to meet that by purchasing credits outside of the city. So that's a kind of black and white assessment. Yes, they can meet it, or no, they can't. So they provided evidence that they're able to buy credits outside of the city. That meets their 10% net gain as a statutory matter. However, that then goes into a policy matter where our policies seek to retain trees and greenery for biodiversity and also visual amenity purposes. That's where we think they're falling foul of our policy. So they are able to meet their 10% net gain, but they're not able to comply with our policy. Probably worth mentioning as well, when the university mentioned 116% increase in trees in the city centre. I think a lot of those would be as a result of a previous application at the student centre in which they had to fell 5 trees, and they needed to replace that with about 50 semi-mature trees or heavy standard trees. So we gave weight to that in that application, but I don't think we should be giving weight to that in this application.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Mason.
Following that one up, I have read the Arboricultural Officer's report and his reference to the PLP 41 in the pre-submission local plan, also noting that the university is a major landowner. Would it not be possible for them to replace the trees which are being lost on a one-to-one basis? And secondly, when they are speaking of roof terraces, would these be mature trees, sizable trees, or would they be mini trees?
So, in terms of the first question, sorry, can you repeat that, the first part?
Yeah, it is our emerging local plan that any trees which are removed shall be replaced on a one-to-one basis within the confines of this city. Taking that into consideration, would it be possible, is it possible, given that the university is a major landowner, for them to clearly replace on a one-to-one basis the trees which they are removing?
Sorry, yeah. So it was something that we raised initially when, at pre-app stage, we hoped that the university would be able to do some replacement planting at their other sites within the city. I think in their arboricultural statement they say that they don't wish to do that because they want to protect future development opportunities at their other sites. And then in terms of the roof terrace trees, I think we need to agree exactly what they would be, but they're likely to be smaller trees that are going to have a limited impact until they grow.
Thank you both. Another comment? Matt.
Thank you, Chair. Ed, could we have a quick look at the slide that shows the current building and the proposed building, please, from Winston Churchill Avenue? I think they were side by side. So looking at this, I believe that, reading through the report, that the angle of the original building there that's there now is approximately 45 degrees, allowing a view of Charterhouse from the road. Looking at the design there, the step back of the proposed building looks more like it's 20-something%. I don't know if you could confirm that or give us some details on that.
Yeah, I haven't carried out a sort of degree percentage increase or decrease, but I think it's pretty clear from these aerial site plans that you would lose quite a lot of the view of Charterhouse, especially that side aspect when walking westwards along Winston Churchill Avenue. We think it's probably why the existing building was designed the way it was, to protect that view. So yeah, that's one of the issues that we raised in the report in terms of it's blocking the view of Charterhouse and its visual competition with Charterhouse, which is already a pretty imposing building.
So Ed, one of the main considerations for us is impact on heritage assets. So I guess this would be impacting a Grade 2 listed building, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so one of the things the NPPF states is that the setting of a listed building needs to be considered, as well as works to a listed building. So following consultation with the Conservation and Design Officer, we concluded that this would lead to less than substantial harm to the listed building in terms of its setting, and that then needs to be weighed against public benefit.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you very much. I'll give Councillor Hunt a turn, if you don't mind.
If you want to do another question, that's fine. I'll do a comment if I may.
Oh, okay, we'll wait then, please. Councillor Mason.
Could you be a little fuller in explaining why the view from Winston Churchill Avenue, which will only be marginally lost because the current building does extend onto the Winston Churchill Avenue front, why the marginal loss of view of Charterhouse is so important? It does strike me that this is an aesthetic judgment, and I'm not in any way competent in aesthetics, but it does seem to me that you walk along and then suddenly, at some point, you get a nice view of Charterhouse. But you would still get that, but on a slightly nearer to it. So why is so much being made of this view?
So yeah, again, the setting of a listed building is important, as explained in the NPPF. I completely agree there wouldn't be a complete loss of view of Charterhouse, and there wouldn't be a complete loss of view of the side elevation, and certainly it's stepping down and being set back is a positive feature of the proposal. But it's certainly less of a view than existing, and it's certainly not an improvement of that view. So that's the reason we reached that it would be a negative impact and then less than substantial harm arising from that.
Thank you. Councillor Candlish.
Could I ask a few questions around the parking and travel arrangements to the building? So it's clear that consideration has been given to the fact that there will be a loss of parking that's currently associated with the building, and that is moved to other sites. And similarly that there is no cycling provision per se on the proposal, though the report asks for that to be added as a consideration, but in a small quantity. Could you just give a little bit more explanation about what the alternate travel arrangements will be for people getting to that building? How far away are these alternative sites? What other forms of transport are available for people to get to this building? Because if the building gets bigger and is used more, there will actually probably be a net increase in the number of people going to the site as well as a simple replacement.
Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, just again to reiterate, there's been a permission granted for a new cycle hub at the site of the former Nuffield building, and a multi-storey car park at the Alden building, to the rear of the Alden building. It roughly results in a sort of the same level of off-street parking within the city centre, and both of those are about a 2 or 3 minute walk, about 200 or 300 metres away from the site. So Highways have looked into this in quite some detail in terms of their master plan and in terms of their wider travel plan. And they're pretty happy that it can be accommodated, but they did raise concerns about the lack of short stay on-site cycle parking, and they asked therefore for a condition requiring 3 Sheffield hoops. We're unsure, I think the university are unsure as well, that that can be accommodated on site, so we would need to look at the wording of a condition should members be minded to approve this application, potentially to give some flexibility on that. But yeah, it's all been examined in quite some detail by the local highways authority, who are happy that this can be accommodated. And of course, being a city centre location, it's about a 5-10 minute walk away from Portsmouth Society train station. There are bus routes along there, so we're pretty happy that the location is sustainable enough.
Thank you very much. Is it time to Councillor Vallely?
As somebody who actually attended the university, I'm very pro having the university here, obviously, but I'm also very much aware that they have so much land in this city. Is there not somewhere else they could do this, please?
It's probably not for the local planning authority to say that, to be honest. The master plan is what they've come forward with, and we're considering this specific application on this site, so it's difficult for us to say around alternatives. But yeah, I think I covered issues around trees, replacement planting trees at different sites in the city centre, so yeah, I can't really answer that, I'm afraid.
I think that's a very useful rhetorical question for us at this stage. We'll move to comments now, yes? Yes.
Thank you. I've listened very carefully. Mr. Harris made a compelling deputation on behalf of them both. And I've listened to the officers, and I listened to the university's representation. I'm mindful of the fact, he said that they get on with it straight away, you know, and they said that in 2019 about Victoria swimming baths, and it still sits there, and people are fed up with seeing it sat there. They want it developed. And we're a city that needs to get on. And so there's an element of trust here as well, you know. So I have a doubt as to whether or not they'd knock the current building down and then start again. I don't know. So many developers say that they're going to get on with something, and then they just don't. Let me also say, like Councillor Vallely, I like having the university here. I go online and I promote it, even though a lot of people say they don't want students here and so on. I stand up for the university and I point out how welcome students are here, and the university. It adds to the city's standing. It is internationalist, and it's involved with all sorts of research, including cleaning up the plastics out of our ocean. So for a whole host of reasons, I would like to see this happen. However, as officers say, you have to look at the balances that are involved. There is absolutely no question, so far as I'm concerned, that the university should argue its economic weight to simply put a wrecking ball through the lives of 2 people at the old forge, which have been established and described and reflected in the officer's report recommendation 4. The sense of enclosure that would be caused to this couple would be absolutely enormous and spoil the rest of their living lives. And I don't think that we should be wanting to be a council that would do that. So as I say, I'm going to move the officer's report with all the recommendations. I would like to add too that the loss of the trees, and I'm sure someone else will pick this up in a minute, it goes against everything that we've been trying to achieve. We've planted 50,000 trees and whips and so on across the city. in order to improve the air in the city centre in particular, and it would just make absolutely no sense to see mature breathing trees lifted out of the ground and destroyed to plant them somewhere else, up north somewhere. So that makes no sense, just as our air quality is beginning to improve. The building itself, and I looked at it, you know, in big city centres, we look at what we've done around the city centre, the changes and the improvements, the enormous improvements that have happened to some buildings and the settings to some of the architectural buildings just around the corner here, which we do with Zurich House and so on. I mean, the university is doing a brilliant job in all sorts of places for all sorts of reasons, but this is not right, it's incorrect. The adverse impact that I've just described on the lives of these two people, plus all the reasons that the officers have described in the report, mean that we just cannot give it permission. And in many ways I regret it, because the public benefit through education and science and so on is considerable. But I think Councillor Vallely is right. There are other locations and the university should get on with them, not least at Victoria Park. As I say, that's 2019, and we gave it, and we went out on a limb because people were very cross with us for putting such a tall building next to Victoria Park and all the shadowing and so on. But we see the benefit, we do see the benefit of the university and what it brings to our city. So we went out on a limb on that one, and we gave it permission. And it still isn't built out, and goodness knows when it will be. And we look like idiots, frankly, for giving it in the first place. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for listening. You know, I'm moving the officer's report for all the reasons I've described and that are in there on page 20. And thank you everybody for speaking this morning, and especially Mr. Harris's partner.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. I'm just going to make a little comment from the chair, something I would have raised had I been sitting out there earlier on. I think it's an interesting application, this, because we're being told the big strategic thing about how important the university is, and yes, of course it is. I took my own MBA in midlife from there, and it's a fantastic institution, and we really appreciate what it does for the economy and everything else. But that's not actually relevant to looking at a planning decision that would affect drastically this part of the city. And nobody's mentioned it, and perhaps, you know, I think if we were considering this after the development of Summers Orchard, next door had been considered, I imagine there would have been thousands, not thousands, but certainly nearly 100 objections to this, because this building is not in the nature of that development of, albeit quite high rise, but also a lot of green, a lot of greening, a lot of trees, a lot of landscaping and places people can walk through in the green, and that will provide a bit of a lung to the city centre, as well as lots of much needed housing. I think that the fact that it's only 9 metres across to Old Forge House really says it all. It's not when we're dealing with other, even small applications, we look at a larger gap between buildings than that is, and that to me is persuasive. So I don't think the university should go away thinking we don't like the university. We just don't like this development in that location, the loss of trees, and the effect on Summers Orchards when it is built, I think will be even worse or just as bad as the effect on Old Forge itself, and adds weight, in my mind, to all the people living there and what they would be likely to say. So I would like to second the decision to follow the officer's report and refuse this application. Are there any other comments? Hugh.
This is a very interesting development which is being proposed. I too recognise the problems for the occupiers of the Old Forge and the problem of the trees. I wonder whether we would not be better advised to defer this and urge the university to work further with our very skilled planning team to see whether we can mitigate the problems for the Old Forge, especially that of the overlooking by people in this proposed building, whether we could also find a way in which they could look at getting the biodiversity net gain within the city by planting of trees and developing further. And the further consideration of the visual amenity. I am not particularly convinced by that, and I wonder whether we could not move forward rather than going probably to an appeal to the Planning Inspectorate by deferring this for further consideration by the university in conjunction with our officers.
Is that a formal proposal, Councillor Mason?
Let's test it and see.
Okay. I mean, I think that the general feeling of the discussions we've had, members of the Planning Committee, has been about this is in the wrong place because of the effect it'll have on trees, landscaping, and the feel of that part of town that we've already promised to invest in with development of Summers Orchard and a more sylvan atmosphere. For me, there's no read across between this building, which isn't a bad building in design if it was somewhere else, but is a bad building put between Charterhouse listed building and the proposed development of Summers Orchard, which we all supported strongly in here, and which I think if it was occupied would give us a lot more protest against it. But what do other people think about deferring?
Chair, I have my light on.
Yes, of course.
I really dislike doing it, but I am tempted to support Councillor Mason's proposal because there is no doubt that the loss of the trees in that location in which there are very few is a major loss to the city centre. They're not something we are going to easily be replaced, although the Summers Orchard proposal, if it goes forward, at least is proposing to have some green lanes through there. I have a different view about the suitability of the site for development. I think it is a city centre site and we should be expecting, as the city, whether we like it or not, grows bigger and more dense, and that there is an overall logic to what the university is proposing about renewing the current building and developing a new centre, which I think we all agree, and I think there isn't a conflict between what the planning team are saying about this being done for an operational benefit, but it also being an and a public benefit. Both of those things, I think, can be true. The city would be better off if we had a big new building, cutting-edge technology, ideal for science and technology. I personally could be persuaded that this was a good site for it, but I also am very concerned with just at the edges of that scale of what is being put into this site. You know, if it was 1 to 2 metres thinner, that would be reducing issues with light and overbearing, which I recognise would not be completely removing the issues which the Old Forge is facing, but I think in a public, in the city centre of a big town like that, it is likely that over time these things are going to happen, and you know, I would be giving a big weight to that public benefit. So I think that there could be some, I'm not an architect, I don't know what the consequence of my decision would be, but it would feel to me that if the building were 1 to 2 metres slimmer, enabling a wider strip of greenery, be that hedges or planted trees, a wider streetscape along that section, I would be more minded to approve it. I'm also looking at what the building that is there at the moment is. At the moment we have what was probably quite a modern cutting-edge building in its moment. Now the whole area is not really very consistent architecturally. You know, the Charterhouse on the other side is from a completely different century. There are things up and down Winston Churchill Avenue, all very, very different. So replacing a scruffy car park with a new and better building in that site seems to me actually desirable for the city, but I am not convinced about this one. and for a planning committee discussion about what is set as to be a flagship building in a really, really prominent site, we also didn't have much discussion on the sort of aesthetics of the building itself. It is, you know, I am actually more minded maybe than some might be. It looks quite modern. I don't mind the words which we use, like heavy and, you know, the wide horizontal lines, which are kind of similar to what's across the street from it. So personally, I think there could be a proposal that I would go for, but I'm not minded to be accepting the one that we've got at the moment. That was a very long answer, Chair, and my apologies.
Thank you for that.
It got longer as I started speaking.
I would like to just involve the officers by raising a comment, if you like, for you to respond to. I mean, the first is my concern for the wider landscape after the Summers Orchard development, which residents were involved in the design and so on and so forth. And I understand that future residents or people who are intending to come back weren't consulted about this. And to also respond to my comment earlier that there's no real read across through the site from Summers Orchard to this building, to the Charter House and so forth. You've had discussions already with the applicant. They make a great deal of needing a large space. And so it seems to me that to postpone, when they have said what they need is a large space, it would be better and quicker for them to go and find another piece of land where they can put a large space, you know, can use a large space. Maybe even using the footprint of the building that they haven't built on the site of the Victoria Baths, that sort of thing. What do you think? What would you what are your comments on the idea of deferral? You've done all the discussions up to now.
Yeah, I would definitely not recommend for deferral, being that the university have confirmed that this is the footprint that they need. If it's going to involve, we wouldn't be able to accept sort of substantial amended drawings in terms of the footprint and things like that under this application. It'd be a different application, and it's not what they've applied for. I think there would be little value, even if we could, being that the university have already said that they don't intend to make this any smaller, and they can't operationally make it any smaller. So I'd definitely recommend against deferral.
Chair, can I just come in on the BNG side of things as well, because there is a hierarchy under the legislation in terms of, one, you look at providing it on site, and then two, you look at another site, and then three, you pay the credits. So what they're doing does comply in that sense.
Yes, I can understand that advice. Nevertheless, it doesn't overcome the fact that a bit of the lungs of the city centre will be removed and effectively moved somewhere else.
Yes, I was just sort of guiding you away from BNG as any reasons.
Yeah. We've got a recommendation for refusal in front of us. Julia, perhaps you could advise us. Do we go straight for the support of that recommendation, which Councillor Hunt and I have proposed, and then go to the deferral? I think that's the way we should do it, isn't it?
Yes, your Councillor Hunt's motion was the first motion, and it was seconded by yourself.
Good. Are you all right if we go to the vote on that, members? So if you put up your hands if you want to support the officer's recommendation, which is to refuse this application today. Have you counted? Good. Do members want me to go to take a vote on the deferral? Or
Chair, we haven't finished this vote yet.
I realise that, but
those against, if they could raise their hands.
Those against?
The motion for granting planning permission.
Refusing.
Sorry, I do mean refusing. We don't refuse things very often.
Chair,
So-
if there were no votes against, do you need to record votes abstaining?
That's what I'm trying to get at. Any abstentions? Thank you. Have you recorded that? I think we're going with the officer's recommendation to refuse this application, whilst at the same time, of course, wishing the university, as a major partner in the city, all the best to find another site. Thank you.
Chair? Chair? Could I just make you aware that I will have to leave at about 12 today for another appointment. I'm here for number 13 Craneswater Avenue.
Could I beg your indulgence, Chair? I mean, we want to hear people, don't we? My one can wait. I'm in no rush. If we could take him, be all right, wouldn't it? You stick your thing on.
Sorry, we're going to go with the existing timetable here because we've got so many people here for 17 Clarendon Road, item 5. If you don't mind, I'm sure we'll get to it. Thank you. So we're moving along to item 5, which is 17 Clarendon Road, about the future of the presently called Shylock Bar. Officer, a report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, 17 Clarendon Road, known as Sherlock's Bar. This is a retrospective application for a change of use from a restaurant to a bar, which is a sui generis use. Brought to members due to having 6 objection comments. Since the report was published, there was a further support comment received, which again just echoes the public benefits perceived by patrons of the bar in terms of being a welcoming place for older people. And they mentioned that no bad behaviour as raised in the objection comments has been noted. So just to take you through the proposal, this is where it is. So it's just on Clarendon Road. It's within the Palmerston Road area. So there's a residential block of flats opposite, and there are some residential properties further along Clarendon Road. This is a street scene of it, so this is what it looks like. You can see that it's mostly commercial properties along Clarendon Road until you get to, this is basically at the end of that set of commercial properties. Just again to give you some street scene context, the block of flats I mentioned earlier you can see opposite. One of the issues with this proposal is the Southsea Town Centre Area Action Plan, which was published in 2009. So it's very out of date, and most of the use classes it refers to are no longer within the use class order. Nevertheless, it's still an active policy document, so we need to give it regard. One of the policies mentioned in that document is that a maximum of 8% of frontages in the secondary area, so the secondary area is the blue hatched area you can see on the map, sort of at the bottom of the hatched areas with a pink line around it. The policy states that a maximum of 8% of those frontages should be bars or takeaways. Being that we haven't, as a local authority, been using this policy very often, I don't think it's been reviewed since 2019, so a couple of weeks ago I went out and did a survey and found that there was already 15% of those frontages in a bar or takeaway use, so this the retention of this use would increase that to around 16.14%, so it's a fairly nominal increase. Just to show you the internal layout of that bar, pretty standard as a bar layout. One thing that I would note is there's a lack of a front lobby or front entrance porch, which would help in containing the noise. However, Environmental Health have reviewed it, and they are happy that a condition which seeks to control the noise would sufficiently mitigate any harm arising from this. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions from members?
Chair, we need to hear the deputations first.
Sorry?
Need to hear deputations first, Chair.
I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. Deputations. Again, the same rules apply, which is 12 minutes in favour and 12 minutes for all those objecting. We start with the objections. Are there any objections? Okay.
Chair. No, I don't believe so. There are.
No objections. So 12 minutes for those in favour who want to support this application. I don't know who's going first. Or
Good morning. My name is Fiona McIntyre and I am the Sales and Marketing Manager in Portsmouth's 2 caravan parks. Before stepping into that role, I was also a licensee of the bar premises on that park, an experience that gave me the real understanding of the dedication and responsibility required to run a safe and well-managed venue. I like to believe that I'm an honest and professional person, and I'm here today because I care deeply about Sherlock Spa and its future. This venue has been incredibly important, not only to me, but to many others in the community. Sherlock Spa has been my go-to place ever since it opened. For many single women in their 50s, like myself, it has provided a safe haven and a place to relax, unwind and enjoy life without worry. It has created an environment with making new friends is effortless, and I can say that from personal experience I've made more friendships there than I can ever made to count for. I want to take a moment to look back at something that was very important, and I think that we will all remember this, that during some of the most difficult periods, especially during the COVID pandemic, when restrictions were changing daily and people felt isolated and anxious and were a wee bit unsure of the future, Sherlock's Bar offered a safe and secure setting where people could slowly and safely reintegrate with their friends. All rules were followed and guidelines respected, and yet the warmth and the community spirit was never lost. And that took commitment, professionalism and general care from these people who own this bar. Debbie has truly created a community hub, a welcoming place for singles, couples, widowers, locals and even visitors who visit the area during the summer months. Sherlock's is not just a bar, it's a small intimate music venue that offers a carefully curated mix of artists catering for over 45's audience. With suitable non-offensive music. It fills a gap in the city, a place where mature adults can enjoy entertainment in a respectful, well-managed environment. I've personally seen people turned away at the door simply because this venue is near full capacity. That is not something you see very often in other music venues on our Palmerston Road or Osborne Road. It demonstrates responsibility by Richard and Debbie and not complacency. It shows that safety is prioritised by them over profit. Both Richard and Debbie regularly patrol the venue floor as well as the outside area, ensuring that their establishment and the surrounding community are treated with respect by everybody who enters their venue. And if someone does not meet that expectation, then they are politely asked to leave. The level of active management is rare and it deserves recognition. Speaking as a former licensee myself, I fully understand the challenges and pressures that come with running a bar. In my professional opinion, Richard and Debbie are exceptionally responsible, highly competent and fully in control of any licensing laws and challenges that accompany them. They run Sherlock's Bar with integrity, confidence and an unwavering commitment to safety and respect. Sherlock's Bar is more than just a venue. It's a valued part of our community and it brings us people together, offers safety and connection and enriches the life of so many of us who rely on it not for just entertainment, but for friendship, support and belonging. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the time for another one? I think... You've been keeping an eye on the time? 3 minutes. There's 3 minutes left for somebody else in support of this application.
Just quickly, we had 12 minutes. It says we've got
Oh, they've had minutes. So sorry.
You've got 9 minutes.
Lost track of time in the eloquence of the... so you have 9 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
I'm Sarah Saunders. I pretty much have got... Sorry, can you hear me now? Oh, sorry. I'm Sarah Saunders. I'm going to pretty much reiterate what Fiona has said, so I will just make it short and sweet. The place has been an absolute godsend to people of over 50 and over. When COVID hit, it was the go-to place afterwards to feel safe, secure. Richard and Debbie run an absolutely magnificent bar there. The staff in there are well trained. They patrol regularly to make sure that outside is clean, tidy, there's no glasses left out there. It's just a fantastic place to go to. The music which they provide is something you can't get everywhere else in Portsmouth. The comments that were put on objecting to it about people urinating and vomiting in their gardens, I would put my life on. It's nobody from Sherlock's that's doing that. There's 3 perfectly lovely toilets to be using in there. Nobody gets drunk in Sherlock's, because if anybody's getting that way, Debbie and Richard and the bar staff won't serve them. They'll be asked to leave. So I would just like to support it and say it's changed my life massively, and I would thank them both from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you very much. Next.
Just briefly, I'd like to echo what Sarah and Fiona have just said. I've been in the licensing trade, been a licensee in the past, worked and attended virtually every bar and club in Portsmouth over the last 40 years. It's extremely well run, appeals to mature customers. Richard and Debbie won't allow any drunks or troublemakers in. I've never seen anybody misbehaving outside. I've never seen anybody urinating or throwing up. Why would you do that outside when there's toilets inside? There are a lot of rowdy establishments down the road which carry on late into the night, and I would suggest that possibly troublemakers come from there instead. In my opinion, it's a great business because it appeals to the mature customers, older customers. It's exactly the type of business that the council should be encouraging and supporting. And, I'm happy to put anything in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. There are a couple of minutes left, I think, aren't there? Is that right, Jane?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Sherlock's Bar is a friendly welcome in supporting the older population in Southsea with regular events and a community spirit. They employ attentive staff who are experienced and fully aware of their clients and their responsibilities in terms of not serving alcohol if the person is no longer fit to drink. The staff are very aware of the integrity of the bar with respect to the door always being closed and conscious of their neighbours. The tables and chairs outside on the street are always monitored to ensure there is no encroachment on the pavement, and the bar actively support local economy in terms of using different artists playing on a weekly basis. The objections noted, in my opinion, are of a subjective nature. Claverdon Road is a thoroughfare of Osborne Road and Palmerston Road where there are numerous bars. I have no doubt that there has been instances of vomiting and urinating in the vicinity of Sherlock's, but there is no proof that this antisocial behaviour can be attributed to the patrons of Sherlock's, and it's unfair to do so. Being a regular user of the bar, each week the regulars conduct themselves in a courteous manner and have respect for the local community. To summarise, Sherlock's provides a welcoming, inclusive environment for the local people of Southsea to socialise and enjoy their weekends in each other's company. If the bar were to lose its licence, it would have a huge effect on a great many people and the local economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are no others, I think we're getting towards the end of the time, but quick 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Carol Bush. Just to say exactly what everyone else has said, but we've had a few single women lose their husbands. Also, we've had a couple of people that have contacted cancer, and the support that's been shown in this bar has been a lifeline to those women, and also to people with the cancer. I've had people with strokes, And honestly, we have supported, we're a family in there, and everyone looks after everyone else, thanks to the efforts that Richard and Debbie have put into the bar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good. Well, thank you for all those. I'm now going to move to members' questions. Have you got any questions? Matt.
Thank you, Chair. We've heard about these objections, you know, a news nuisance, customers causing ASB outside, urinating in gardens and broken glass and vomit. Is there actually any evidence of this, or that you could, that the council could provide us with?
No, I'd probably, to be fair, echo the deputations, being that there is no evidence provided by any of the objectors that, not necessarily that this isn't happening, but there's no evidence to suggest that this is coming from the bar in question.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Councillor Mason.
I have looked at the objections which people made, which are summarised in 6.3. Would I be right in thinking that these are all things which are relevant to the licensing committee and not really planning considerations?
Certainly there is some crossover there, and generally if there were antisocial behaviour issues or noise issues that would be generally dealt with through licensing, we are more looking at residential amenity of the surrounding properties. Obviously these issues can affect residential amenity, but I think through the control of conditions and through the licensing regime as well, I think we are happy to recommend approval in this instance.
Thank you very much. I think that this list of things are probably shared around the South Sea Centre, which on a Saturday night is pretty loud, and I'm sure when people are sick in my garden, I couldn't identify which venue they come from. Any further comments? Lee.
Am I right for a comment? Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to move the officer's report. It's a clear-cut case that they should be granted planning permission for the reasons just we've heard by the representations. I'm afraid it's all my fault because that policy which the officer referred to, what was it again, back in 2009? Yeah, I was sat here in almost the same place. And that was the days when we were looking to protect retail. And I moved an amendment to the city plan, similarly Albert Road, to protect the shop frontage. But that argument's been overtaken now by online shopping. So we can't give it much weight, really, especially with our emergency plan. So it's controlled by licensing, as being described by you, Chair. The noise officers have looked into complaints and have recommended that we should grant this permission. They have not made any they have not been able to establish any statutory noise at all. So there's no reason not to give it. It looks like it's a wonderful place. I haven't been there yet. I'm not sure if I declare my age, but I am a little bit over 50. Well, I am too young. You're so right. Anyway, yes. So look, let's give it planning permission. So I'm moving the officer's report. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for that? Good.
Well, and a comment.
Okay, you go then. You're seconding it and made a comment.
So I will be supporting Councillor Hunt's proposal. I think, to me, it is this question about planning versus licensing. From a planning point of view, it's close to other bars and similar venues. To be honest, from a planning point of view, you could be running an unsuccessful bar to people who don't make any noise or drink or whatever, and it really wouldn't make a difference. We have to decide whether the place and the property is acceptable, and on that basis I think we have to say it is. I mean, there are some bits within it that if I was on the licensing committee I would be probing further about suggestions made about improvements that could be made that have not been done. But the mitigation measures suggested of limited hours for the most likely things to cause problem in the location it is look perfectly reasonable for me. So from a planning point of view, I will be supporting the recommendation.
Good, thank you. Do we have any different recommendations or further comments? Okay, I'll move towards the decision, which is on page 27 and the conditions on page 28.
Chair, sorry. May I just say just one quick thing? I won't do my 12-minute thing I'm allowed to do.
We don't normally allow any comments at all at this stage of the meeting, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'm the applicant. I'm the applicant. I haven't spoken yet.
Well,
Chair, I think there's an error on the deputation list. It should be 12 minutes between all 5 of them, but
Yes.
they've put 3 minutes for 4 people, and I'm assuming you're Richard.
I'm Richard, yes. I mean, I was told in my letter that I had 12 minutes myself.
It's got 6 minutes next to Richard, and I think you're trying to say you haven't spoken yet.
I haven't spoken at all yet, no.
Yeah, I mean, it should be 12 minutes between all of you. But
I'm happy not to have 12 minutes. Only thing I want to raise is the details that Caroline Tanner says, and I refer to the councillor there, just a couple of minor points on there that we already do. I want to clarify.
I think we'd prefer to move on to a decision.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, and I'm sorry it wasn't all clear to you. So can I move to the recommendation, which is to a conditional permission as described on page 27 and 28 in this report. All those in favour, raise your hands.
that's unanimous.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you all for coming. It was good to see so much support for an application. Thank you. The next application, as you know, has been deferred, so we're not looking at 49 North End Avenue. Move straight to, I will go to, is it Powers Court, no, it's Craneswater Avenue. We'll move straight to item 8 to give Councillor Nick Dorrington the chance to say something. Is everybody happy with that? That's on page 53. Page 53, 13 Craneswater Avenue, a construction of a roof extension to the side, front and rear roof slopes. Could I have the officer's report, please? I will certainly have a break after this, but given that Nick is holding on there, we'll go on with this item.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Simon.
So we have an application at 13 Craneswater Avenue for the construction of a roof extension which would appear to both the side front and the rear roof slopes. The application has been called in by Councillor Candlish, and we have Councillor Dorrington to make a deputation, and there is no update to the report.
Councillor Candlish, are you therefore abstaining yourself from the rest of the meeting? What's the normal thing, Juliet?
You're not making. Is it the?
Oh, okay.
You're doing a deputation, are you?
Oh, okay.
You're
It's
not.
written on the papers.
Okay.
That you are.
Are you just predetermined, or have you? If you're predetermined
You
or
called it in.
biased, you can make. Well, that does. Just because you've called something in doesn't mean that you've got
Okay.
any interest.
My mistake,
If you've predetermined the application or have the appearance of bias or bias, you can make a deputation but not participate in the committee. If you haven't got disclosable pecuniary interest, have you? Yeah.
No, I've made a mistake. It was just a call in, so you're welcome to stay. Okay.
If you haven't predetermined or don't have the appearance of bias, you can still participate. So.
Okay, thank you.
I think the trouble is when you have a discussion like that, it then creates a sense of predetermination.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it was confusing on the papers, and I apologise. Oh.
Thank you. So Craneswater Avenue in Eastney and Craneswater Ward. You can see from the image we have a series of, I'll just get the pointer. A series of semi-detached houses on the south side of Craneswater Avenue facing north. This image is just quite small, so zoom it up for you. You can see the property there on the right-hand side with the label. Note the roof scape. You've got the forward-facing main element that's replicated with the neighbour to the left, the west, and then halfway down the property on the eastern side at right angles you have the eastern roof wing, let's call it, and then to the rear you can see a large flat roof. That is a white flat roof. That is a two-storey rear extension consented, I think, in 2008, which is fairly common to have at least single-storey extensions. And then in the bottom left of number 13, you can see the small rear wing extending to the south. So here we are in the streetscape. So we've got an X on the property. There's the laser pointer, I hope you can see. Again, I'd just ask you to look at the architecture and the finesse of the roofscape. I'll zoom in a bit for you, I think, on two more photographs. It's very common sort of architectural design for many houses in Portsmouth, very attractive, undoubtedly. So you've got the main roof element running north to south, front to back, and then the eastern element I noted before. So in a few moments, you'll see the proposed extensions that require a front side element sitting on the main roof here, and it would have a face rising above the ridge, vertical face of 66 centimetres above that ridge facing the street. Turning to the rear, there is that two-storey rear extension I mentioned earlier. You could see that on the flat roof in the aerial photograph. That's the element that was consented in 2008. You ask two different people, you may get two different views about the suitability of it in terms of its height, position, scale and appearance. Next door is a more common single-storey extension in that corner, filling the corner in the properties of a different, more modest design and so on. But the proposal is to put at the rear the large dormer element above the two-storey extension and also above the rear wing roof. So here on the left-hand side we have the existing first floor. On the right-hand side, to create the first floor bedroom, the object of this application, the stairs would have to come up at this point in the middle stroke front of the house, and the element I'm highlighting is the bit that would appear on the front roof slope, and then moving on to the rear dormer, L-shape at the rear. So the existing roof slope, which you've seen a few moments ago in the overhead photograph and in some of the photographs, you can see that the main front to back element and the east element there, and then the southern wing. Here is the flat roof imposed onto that of the single roof extension. So the front element, the roof, the flat face that would face forward vertically, and then the rear element. So here, this side image is quite good. So that is the smaller element you'd see from the front in matching materials, depending on how good the workmanship is and so on, but it would still be seen. And then to the rear, this is the main body of the rear dormer, which is that element with that strong frame to match the strong frame below, and then the L shape for the ensuite to the left-hand side. So these are the 2D elevations showing the existing rear elevation, where you can still see the roof form of the rear wing and the side wing, and then the effect of putting a large roof extension on that. This image is a bit small, I'm afraid. I'll just zoom in. The front elevation you've seen before. I'm sorry, I can't have the laser point at the same time, but you can see running left to right from the chimney is the front vertical face of the rear element that nevertheless would face the street rising from the ridge point, and that's 66 centimetres taller than the current roof ridge. So that's the other element you would see from the front. We do have a series of previous applications that I can take you through in some detail, but really we're asking you to consider the current application to stand on its own merits, but the previous ones may be material considerations. They're slightly smaller images. I think we can get into slightly bigger detail. These are set out in the report. The first application was for a much larger, I'm just getting the laser pointer again, a much larger front element, as you can see, straddling right across the eastern ridge, and to the rear, that is a balustrade for a balcony, an outside balcony. Second application, this was refused for its appearance and scale and harm to amenity, including the neighbours to the rear with overlooking from this balcony to the south. Second application removed that balcony, scaled things down, but officers still felt the scheme wasn't supportable, regrettably. The third scheme is a lawful development certificate with the building scaled back over the original roof. That was deemed to be lawful, and so a certificate was granted. And this is the current scheme. Those are the southern elevations of the same four developments. Just some more photographs. So you can see the two-storey. So this is partly why I talked about the views of the current roofscape and form of the overall dwelling, which matches the overall general form of the other three houses in that row of four, and how that would change with another strongly framed top-heavy extension on top of that is the difficulty for officers, hence the reason, the recommendation for refusal. There's a slightly closer view. This is the view looking south of the neighbours from the existing two-storey proposal, and so the dormer would sit above that. We've dealt with overlooking. There would still be overlooking from the proposal to the property to the south and others, but having removed the former balcony and the fallback position of some sort of dormer that could be achieved, we didn't feel there was any more reason to refuse on effect on the neighbours' individual amenities, but the concern remains about the overall appearance and effect of the proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do we have any deputations at all on this? I can't see anybody in the room, and when I introduced myself, nobody came. No, nobody. Okay, so we'll move now to members' questions.
There is a deputation.
Councillor Dorrington.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're hidden under your hat. I'm really sorry.
That's okay, thank you, Chair.
Carry on, Nick, all yours.
Good morning, councillors and members of the Planning Committee. Before I start my deputation, I think it's just worth noting that there is, as stated, a granted permitting development application for 13 Craneswater Avenue. So whatever happens at the end of the day today, there will be a loft conversion happening at 13 Craneswater Avenue. The conversation today is what will that look like and how will that impact the street. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today in the matter of 13 Craneswater Avenue. I speak to you not only as the ward councillor for Eastney and Craneswater, but also as a resident of number 17, the next detached property to number 13. I am the immediate neighbour, and as someone with many years' experience in the construction industry, I have followed this application closely. In fact, I was one of the ward councillors who requested that it should be called in. I want to start by saying that I have the utmost respect for the hard work of our planning officers here at Portsmouth City Council. I fully understand that they operate within strict planning framework and that every recommendation they make must stand up to scrutiny. That knowledge gives me great reassurance in the officers doing a fantastic job. However, with this particular application, I feel that the rigid application of policy may not deliver the most suitable outcome either for the applicant or for the residents of Craneswater Avenue. Craneswater Avenue is a special place. It's a beautiful street where neighbours know each other. They take pride in their homes and they share a real sense of community. It's a wonderful place to raise a family. Number 13 is a family home, and like many homes on the street, while substantial in appearance, it's still limited by the number of rooms, and for a growing family, personal space is essential. The applicants are a hard-working family who are an asset to our community. They've expressed a genuine desire to stay in Craneswater and improve their home in a way sympathetic to the street, and their vision was to create a modest loft conversion to make the most of the existing roof space. What is particularly important to note is that their proposal is sympathetic at the front, maintaining the character of the street, whilst the rear design is contemporary, matching the back of their home and the others in the area. This approach respects both the traditional frontage and the modern rear elevations that already exist. The rear of the property already has a balcony, and the overlooking remains exactly as it is now, overlooking garages rather than gardens with no initial impact on privacy. There have been no objections to this proposal, only support from neighbours. Thanks, Reg. In fact, there is overwhelming backing for the applicant's scheme and a real sense of disappointment at the permitted development design that has been approved instead. That design, in my view, is far less appropriate and sympathetic to the street. This is not a case of somebody trying to maximise space as cheaply as possible, with no regard for the surrounding. Quite the opposite. This applicant is willing to invest more to create something that respects the character of the street, a moderate, well-considered scheme that works for their family and for our community. As members of the Planning Committee, you have the authority to refuse an application when it carries a recommendation to be approved, and equally, you have the authority to approve an application that has a recommendation refusal. I would ask you to be mindful that once something is built and the landscape is changed, it is very unlikely it will ever be undone. With that in mind, I would ask the Planning Committee to exercise its judgment carefully and to make a decision that reflects the long-term character and quality of Craneswater Avenue. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for your hard work for our city.
Thank you very much. I hope we've finished in time for you to get to where you've got to go. Members, we're moving to questions from members. Councillor Mason.
Would you put up again the view from Craneswater Avenue, i.e. the front view, of A, the application which has got a lawful development certificate and so could be built without any further ado, and then of the current proposal?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, so these are the southern elevations, and I'll show you the eastern ones as well, so you get the full understanding.
You asked for the Craneswater
It's the
Avenue.
northern elevation from Craneswater Avenue I was asking for.
Oh. I don't have one of the lawful development certificate to compare, but the this eastern elevation will give you a good feel for it. So if I again describe them for you. So number 3 is the lawful development certificate that was granted. There's no judgment, to be clear, about the appearance of the development. There's not an officer judgment that they think it's appropriate or inappropriate. Does it meet the criteria of the General Permitted Development Order in terms of principally its position and materials, position and scale, as well as matching materials? So that one, compared to the current proposal, certainly is bigger at the front, as you can see. That scale compared to that, which we entirely acknowledge. To the rear, you have the main element is sitting on the existing roof slope, and then the further element is over the rear roof wing. So that element, the rear roof wing, lawful development is similar to the proposed element, as you can see. But the proposed extension becomes much further deeper than the existing roof slope, as you can see. It extends to there, whereas this one sits slightly recessed, which means this one is deeper and also taller in height. You can see the front face is taller compared to that one. I've got the actual dimension. So the proposal is 1.75 metres deeper over the extension into the garden, and it's 62 centimetres taller. So it, in officer's opinion, is more harmful. In terms of the southern elevation, the lawful development proposal is quite plain, and you can see there it is sitting up a bit higher, so that the face of it is not as tall as the face of the proposed one. The proposed one also has the strong framework in render, which would indeed match the strong framework below, but I'd ask members to consider the overall appearance, and this very boxy, tall, heavy, incongruous, in officer's opinion, extension landing on the top of the building and how that would appear. Again, if I take you to the view from the south, that intervention is already eye-catching, and as I say, different people have different views, but it could be said to be smart and modern intervention, but to replicate that at height here, that is the concern that officers have. So in appearance, in massing and design, it would be more harmful in officers' opinion than the lawful development proposal.
Could you stick with that a bit more and tell us, the cursor at the moment is at the height of the existing proposal, is it?
Yes, it's rooftop, so it's above the current horizontal band.
So it would be quite a bit higher.
Yeah, I'll show you the elevation again.
How much higher?
There it is. It's.
These plans are rather difficult to read, actually, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it is hard. I was going to say to members that you need to exercise your 3D visual part of your brain, which is why I'm showing you two different elevations, but you don't have a 3D image of it.
What we're interested in is the difference in height and bulk.
Yes, okay. I don't have a dimension exactly with me. I can't quite read, but the height of the lawful development, that face, the southern face, is 62 centimetres shorter than the height of this one. You can see it's taller, the proposal. So this one is taller. It also extends 1.75 metres further to the south into the garden, and it's got the stronger banding. So again, with the depth, there is the extra depth beyond the rear eaves. The lawful development one sits back from the eaves, so it's more modest in scale and appearance.
Is that triangle number 3, is that shadow or building?
Yes, that's just shadow, yes.
If I can add to this, could you confirm the differences between 1 and 2? You haven't got the certificate, you haven't got that?
Yep, so number 1 was the first application, which had this is an outdoor balcony, so that's a balustrade that you'd see someone standing there if they were drawn on. But you can see much larger at the front, much larger.
And that was refused?
That was refused. The second one, were considerably reduced, but still, in officer's opinion, not acceptable as an intervention for the reasons I've set out. And this one was refused under delegated powers and not appealed. This is smaller than the current proposal. As you can see at the back, they've extended it further than the last refusal. So the previous refusal has not been approved of.
If people are still wondering about clarification of height, if we look, could you go back to the actual photographs? Because as you can see from the drawings, where the original chimney breasts are on the left-hand side, it is below that, and the chimney breasts on the right-hand side, it will be level with that, according to the drawings, if anyone was wondering about actually how high it was going to be. Was there a photo from further back in the garden, out the back of the building? That would give a better representation
Yes,
of
indeed, Councillor.
exactly how
There we
high
are.
it will be.
That one again, yeah.
So the chimney pots on the right-hand side of the house, it will be level with that, the top of it, and it will be below the chimney pots on the left-hand side of the house, from what I can gather of the drawings. Is that correct?
Again, even though we're standing further back, Councillor Standen, as you correctly said, would be a good idea. The extension would appear to be about the chimneys because of the angle. I'll just show you again. You see how much taller, or the height of that corner above the existing ridge of the rear. That's what. Yes, this is looking exactly as if you were a long way away, looking exactly straight at it. But if I'd make, so it's not so much the chimneys because the angle's changed, but look at the height above that ridge to that top corner. It must be 1.5 meters or so, I'd say, 1 meter, 1.5 meters. So it's going to be up around here. So you, in this view, you would still mostly disappear the chimneys and from view. So it'd be sitting up like this. Thank you.
I think that was very useful. Any further questions? Can we just look at a picture of the front of the building from the road? Have you got any picture, and that you can use your cursor to show us what it'll look like? Please.
Yes, okay. I'll go to the elevation first. I don't think I've got a, let's see if I've got a larger front elevation. I'll show you the side elevation to start with. So you've got this first element, which has a triangle presented to the street, and then the northern edge of the rear element would sit above the ridge by 66 centimetres, and you'd see that from the street as a flat face. So I'll have to then... That is here. I'm sorry that's rather small, but you can just about discern under the cursor the left to right. That is a 66 centimetre high flat face facing the street above the ridge. And the second element is the smaller element there. And so in the street, the 66 centimetres of flat face would run along this element here, and then the other element would run along that element there.
What would it look like along that roof that's coming towards the front of the building?
It would be, so it would appear triangular, as it would have a right angle and run into the roof. So with that, although they're both relatively modest in scale, the key would be the quality of the materials to blend it in as best as possible. But officers still have a concern about that, but it's less than the concern to the front, because there's, to be fair, a lot of architecture and variation going on the property and within the street.
And the one that has already got certificate of lawful development, where would that run on that picture?
Okay, let's just remind ourselves what it looks like. That would be much larger, that's right, on the front. You can see how the proposed one sits quite high up. This one would be quite a bit bigger in height. So as a triangle that you would see, it would sit up much more strongly on the roof in this area.
Does everybody else understand that fully? Councillor Mason.
I assume this is a conservation area.
Actually, it isn't. You might have assumed that, but it's outside the conservation area.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? So, in some ways, the application that is made before us now is, if you like, better, i.e. smaller, than the one that's being applied for in the respect of the front. Is that correct?
Yes, so the lawful development certificate proposal is bigger and stronger at the front than the current proposal, whereas at the back it is... Sorry. Yes, that's right. Whereas at the back, it's more modest.
Chair, just it helps, having done the measurements while Mr Turner's been advising, so the lawful development certificate is 2 metres depth at that front point, and the current proposal would be 1.1, so there's 90 centimetres different, 900 mil.
So on the face of it, on the back, it's 62 centimetres more, or 61 you said, and on the back it's 91 centimetres lower.
To the rear, the depth of the proposal is 1.75 metres greater than the lawful development. That's why, in officer's view, it's not comparable.
So, because I know this is important, are there any other designs like this proposal in the street?
Thank you, Councillor. It's buried in the report, but the answer is no.
Okay.
Can we move to comment? All right. If everybody's finished, I mean, it's been quite a long time now.
Another question from me. Am I right then that we have before us the choice of something at the front that looks pretty big being built and something at the back extending the already unusual two-storey modern feature, but that is the back of the property after all rather than the front. Is that right? Is that the essential
That's a fair summary. I mean, officer's view would be we in this instance wouldn't therefore decide that we would support the current proposal because we still think it's harmful, sufficiently harmful. When we get a true fallback position where you can get very similar things, then we may set that out, and so in that case we might as well just grant planning permission. It depends on each and every circumstance, but here we don't think, although there's an improvement at the front, we feel that the harm at the back doesn't mean that we're prepared to grant planning permission.
I mean, I think I'm describing the situation that Councillor Dorrington was describing, which is that they will build the already approved version anyway.
That's his statement.
Yes, I understand that. But they could. They could? Yeah, thank you.
So sorry, you haven't got your thingy on.
Comments, please.
All right then. I'm going to try and put this to bed. I mean, I'm most grateful for the officers for detailing this and looking at it, but I'm quite certain I'll refer to it as picture 3 and picture 4. I think that's easier. I think that picture 4 is a better solution than picture 3. And I say this because I understand what they're saying about the back and being higher and everything. But when you look at it, the overall design is, compared to 3, picture 4 is, the whole thing is more complete. It has more rhythm. It has a sense of completion. Whereas if you went with picture 3, you've got the extension, but set back in the roof, about 3 or 4 tiles further back up and pushed into the roof. And it is on the back. We have heard that nobody has made any objections. I think that's in the evidence. And therefore, once you decide that the back is, has more rhythm, when you allow this, this design to go further up, rather than having this, what I thought, gents, was rather more sort of pokey-looking, what they call them when they go out. I forget what they call them now. I've been sat here so long. Dormer. Thank you. A pokey sort of looking dormer, whereas this has some strength. It has some character because it's already happened at the bottom. So it's a bit like one of those design programs. It's exception that proves the rule. So yes, I think that it should be allowed to go up to kind of complete what the back looks like. And putting a pokey little dormer on top would make what has already been done look daft. So I don't think So I think that, and then you get the benefit of the smaller impact on the front. So it's the rhythm, the way that the back relates to the rear extension, proposed extension relates to the recipient building, I think is acceptable in design terms. I think the design appearance of the development will not, through its bulk scale, cause harm to the appearance of the existing dwelling, and and this particular action will ensure that the front, the southern environs, is better protected than the previous application. So the proposed development will therefore support the Portsmouth plan. Gents, I've had a good stab of it. Did you get where I'm going with it?
Absolutely.
All right, is that okay? I hope everybody else did. You know, what I'm saying is 4 is better than 3. Yes, I accept there's a bit more height, but it really is that the way that it rhymes together at the back better than if you put in what looks like an afterthought in the roof. You've got a strong-looking building that's got some determination to it. And I know it's not the same as the rest, and I've said it anyway, so I'm sorry about going on. I'm not, you know, it's just, it needs deciding upon, that's all.
That's very fair, and it's smaller in the front, what's going to be built. That's the, isn't it?
So I am attempting to overturn the officer's recommendation for the reasons I have given. May I say one further thing? I'm so sorry. This is a really good example, and I know you guys agree with me, this is a really good example of where members are coming in and getting involved and making a decision, which, if the government brings its changes to planning and knocks us out of the consideration and passes it only to our officers, that this is a chance where somebody can bring something to the planning committee and say, hey, what do you think? And I think we should really stick with that.
We have a then to grant permission. We'd have to have some conditions to go with it. First of all, can I see if there's anybody who is willing to second you before we go into conditions? Good, okay, great. Yes, of course.
Yeah, no, I agree with Councillor Hunt. I think the fact that having a smaller footprint on the front would be beneficial for people looking at it from the road. I do believe that the architecture matches what's there already. I do think that what could be put there if this wasn't overturned looks a bit strange. I think that the proposal looks a lot better. So I would therefore like to second Councillor Hunt.
So we have a proposer and a seconder. Could you advise us what the conditions should be, please?
Thank you. Yes, so a 3-year implementation condition, a plans condition, and then I think I'd want a more bespoke materials condition than normal to make sure that the front-facing element in particular is carefully treated, the materials, including the fascia, so it doesn't stand out as a poor addition to the street scene.
And you're satisfied that the plans are detailed enough to make sure the extension at the front is lower than at the one at the back, or appears in relation to the existing roof?
The plans are perfectly clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any other recommendations or more comments? Okay, I'll move.
Chair, sorry, just before we just go to vote, because obviously it would be a different decision to the recommendation. I'm going to just make sure we paraphrased members' reasons for coming to a different conclusion, so that their view is in terms of the design, because our recommendation is only a refusal on design, not neighbour impact, that the design is satisfactory in keeping with the existing appearance, bearing in mind a contemporary rear extension already at the back. And
I did mention the recipient building, you know, I think that's a term I haven't heard for a long time, but I think it is a planning term. I do my best.
No, that's fine. It's just clarity for obviously the decision-making process, so it's clear.
Can we add to that and lower at the front?
So it's an accept. So what we're saying, it's important that we're not involved in a sort of a contest between which scheme we prefer, bearing in mind the fallback position, but we're saying on its merits we think it's acceptable. We would say then the modest amount that it projects from the roof at the front is acceptable in the street scene, and bearing in mind the wider character, and it's not, as we've established, actually in the conservation area.
Are you happy with that, members? Okay. I move to the vote that we grant conditional permission. We've heard the conditions from officers. How many people are in favour of that? Thank you very much. Now we'll take a 5-minute break until 22, so a 5-minute break, and we'll see you back then to finish the agenda. Thank you very much so far. Councillor Dyke has left his, I think, his specs there, so I'm going to wait a moment till he comes back. Welcome back, everybody. We've got the application in front of us at the moment. 25 Powers Court Road, conversion from a dwelling house to a 7-person bedroom house in multiple occupation. Page 41. Can I ask for the officer's report first?
Thank you, Chair. 25 Powers Court Road, change of use from a dwelling house Class C to a 7-bedroomed, 7-person house and multiple occupation. This is proposed. It has come to the committee because of the numbers of objections and a call in from Councillor Hunt. Okay, I'll dive in. So we're in Nelson Ward, Powers Court Road, towards the western end. So it's a north-south property. It's a mid-terrace with a small forecourt. Turning to the first principal matter of mixed and balanced communities and our 10% threshold in the guidance. There are currently 4 HMOs that you can see with the purple stars. That just the stars don't lie within the 50-metre radius, but the curtilages, the extent of the properties do. So the one to the south on New Road, I think it is, Queen's Road, sorry, has a bit of its back garden. So there are 4 existing. If approved to 5, there would be 5 out of 69 properties, which is 7.25%, which we would normally deem, therefore, to still be in accordance with the guidance and policy for a mixed and balanced community. Existing floor plans, fairly traditional Victorian terrace arrangement with a rear wing. The property would be extended under permitted development rights with some extensions I'll show in a moment on the ground floor and to the roof, and would be extensively remodelled internally. So on the ground floor, let's get the laser pointer. This would be a permitted development single-storey extension to form the communal kitchen dining living area. And then roof height, the dormer windows, roof extensions across the rear roof and the rear wing. So that moves us on to the second element, principally that we look at, which is the amenities offered for the residents, the proposed residents. So we have 7 bedrooms, each for single occupancy. Each one, as you can see, has an ensuite. Then moving into the communal area, that is 26.2 square metres. Because each of the bedrooms are above the 10 square metres, the requirement for the communal space is 22.5. So at 26.2, it would exceed your guidance. And beyond just the measurements of all the rooms and spaces, officers are happy that the arrangement and light overall would offer a satisfactory sense of amenity and living accommodation for the neighbours, for the occupiers. The window to bedroom 7 there down the light well is shown to be full height glaze, which we'll see in a moment. In the supplementary matters, we just refer to an amended plan. Until yesterday evening, there was a line across the middle of the room at this point. That was just a drawing error. This other line across the middle is a very modest step, 57 millimetres. So as you walk down the property, if approved, you would just step up there by 57 millimetres at that point. Existing elevations, proposed elevations, so you can see the single-storey rear extension, permitted development, the two roof elements, permitted development. There is the full height window to the ground floor bedroom there. There are the sections, so bin storage on the front and the normal manner bike store to the back. For completeness, here are the photographs of the existing property, but of course, as this would be so extensively remodelled, it's hard to, it's really, you're seeing the existing, not the proposed. Top left, we have the existing bathroom. On its right-hand side, behind the wooden wall, is the WC. Top left, top right, this is the rear reception room looking through to the kitchen, but that would all be knocked through. This wall would disappear and the room beyond, which is here, would be extended further, so it's hard to read really. Looking down the side of the house into the rear garden, so the ground floor extension would extend beyond this rendered element. Then a variety of shots within the property, mostly first floor bedrooms, downstairs stairs, more rooms that would all be mostly changed to a greater or lesser extent. The garden would remain mostly the same. There's the view down the light well, there's the rear element. So we would have an extension coming off 3 metres off the rear here. And that is the window that would change to a full height glazing for that particular bedroom. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We did chance it again. We don't have any deputations for this one, do we? No. Okay. Move.
Councillor Hunt.
Oh, you're sitting over there. I knew there was somebody. You've moved. Quite rightly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I've moved
Hunt.
because I don't want to be seen to be part
Councillor
of the
Hunt.
planning committee. So first of all, I'd just like to raise an issue. So I forwarded to the legal secretary my initial response when I was asked about this and looked at it and called it in. And that's what I did. I called it in, the same as Councillor Candish did. But unfortunately, gentlemen, for whatever reason, I got put down as an objector, that I was objecting. So that pretty much, the public perception would be if I then sat there and voted on it, I'd already made my mind up. So there's an error there, another one. I just wondered if perhaps there's a little bit of training, a bit of an understanding we can come to on that, because like so many councillors, you call things in, doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with what people are saying. On this occasion, I do. So, yeah, what we've got here is, again, and you all know the ins and outs of this by now. Councillor Standing is quite new to it. I'm sure he's been following it over the years or so. But it is permitted development that changes the character of these houses, enabling these enormous HMOs with 8 bedrooms in them. It's just not normal in our local communities, and this is a very tight local community. And what it means is that with 8 bedrooms, regardless of what anybody says, regardless of what Highways says, I mean, I was there last night, and indeed in North End Avenue, and you've got people with the backs of their cars on, all of their cars on yellow lines overhanging the apex of the curb. So they're forced to do that because there's simply no parking in this location. So well, what I would ask you to consider, members, is that if you were to grant permission, that you would be harming the residential amenities currently being enjoyed by people in this location of being able to actually park. So by adding to the parking, that you will be harming residential amenities. So that's a reason to refuse it. The rooms all give way. The room standards are all compliant. There's not a lot that the local planning authority can do about that. But I do consider it to be an overdevelopment. And I have to reiterate what residents say over and over again, and they're the ones that matter. There's the impact on GP services, on even policing and so on, as we cram more and more and more people into our city and the government asks us to cram more and more people in by way of HMOs, because not enough homes are being built. So HMOs are symptomatic of that national problem, not enough homes being built for people. In this city, the 10% rule is there, so we can at least control it better than most other places. So there you have it. I think I've said what I needed to say. If I can just check my notes. And yes, and just to repeat what people said to me so much, is that the cumulative impact of so many HMOs, even in this small location, I know we haven't reached 10% yet, but it does have an adverse impact on community cohesion. And Councillor Dare and I have had examples of people putting their houses on the market in order to get out because of the perception of the community being changed. But I also know that it's the same in every city and every town up and down the land. We're no different to anybody else, but we do have the 10% rule. Thank you very much indeed, Chair. And I need to go now. I need to go home and feed my mother-in-law, who is 94, and I need to get on with it. So I'm going to miss the last one because I think this is the right juncture for me to go. Is that all right?
Yes, of course.
You're still
Thank
for
you
it.
for telling us what you're doing.
All right. Much obliged to you. Thank you for your time.
So now, members, we move to questions from councillors. Councillor Mason?
Am I correct in reading this that bedroom number 6 only just reaches the minimum size and does so by including what would not really be usable space in the front bay?
Thank you, Councillor. Right, yes, so bedroom 6 has been measured by the officer as 10.1 square metres, just passing the 10 square metres. That would include the front bay. Personally, I do think that the bay is a usable space. It's not a right-angled space quite, but it is somewhere where you can, if you want to have an easy chair there and face back into the room, or have a desk facing out, those sorts of things, or a chest put into your bay window. So that's my personal view.
Did you investigate any ways in which the ensuite shower, which is quite big, could be reduced slightly in this one?
I don't think we did, having measured it and felt that the measurement and the configuration was okay. We wouldn't have looked at that. I think it would be, obviously the shower room can't get any narrower, so at best you could have maybe some sort of inbuilt cupboard or something, but there doesn't appear to be much room for that if you look at the door opening and so on.
Perhaps the applicant, on hearing this, could have a quick look at that, but otherwise it does basically comply, doesn't it? Thank you. Anybody else? Questions? Carry on.
Hi, I was wondering if the officers could just tell us a little bit more about the they called light boxes in room 1.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, please, Jane.
Roof lights.
Roof lights, thank you.
The roof lights, yes. Thank you, Councillor. Yes, so 2 roof lights are dotted on there. This is common in the front half of roof extensions to have roof lights rather than vertical windows, dormer windows. They've been measured at 94 centimetres by 83, both of them. So they're decent size, and not just one, but 2. The sill's height is 1.5 metres, so that's enough. Once you've opened the window, you can see out into the street, I think, for the average height person.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? We move to comments and recommendations, please.
Sorry, I thought the chair was looking elsewhere. So with no real enthusiasm, because I think 8-bedroom HMOs are the wrong solution to a real problem, which is a lack of housing. Sorry, my mistake. The point still stands. A large HMO like this, in my estimation, is the wrong solution to a real problem, a lack of housing for people. But as the Planning Committee, we are forced to look at this on its merits and within the frame of the law. And I'm open to colleagues to suggest how we can do it, but I can see no reason to do anything other than to approve this application.
Yeah, can you put your microphone on, please?
Sorry. They will move to a vote on the officer's recommendation, which are on page 51 and 52. Can I take votes in favour of those who want to support this application, to agree to it? Any abstentions? Okay. Any against? 2 against and 1 abstention. Planning permission is granted. Thank you very much. We've done 13 Cranes at Water Avenue, which is the next in the report. So if you could move to page 61, we'll deal with the last item on the agenda, which is 71 George Street. And we have no deputations for this. But if is it Simon could give you a report, I'll be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. 71 George Street, an application for the change of use from a dwelling house, Class C3, to a 7-bedroom, 7-person house in multiple occupation. This application has come to Planning Committee because of the numbers of objections received at 8. We have no deputations and no updates. We're in Fratton Ward here. You can just make out Kingston Cemetery to the southeast there, or opposite the property. So we're at the northwestern corner of the cemetery, so we're halfway between Fratton Road to the west and Milton Road, Copner Road to the east. Mid-terrace, there we are, with a small front forecourt. On the first matter of mixed and balanced communities, there are no HMOs currently in the 50-metre radius, so if approved, there would be 1 out of 39, which equates to 2.56, so it would be deemed to still provide a mixed and balanced community. The property would be extended, completely mostly rebuilt on the inside, remodelled, and with extensions exterior as well. To show you those, we have 7 bedrooms distributed across the property, each with a ensuite to each bedroom. All the bedrooms provide at least 10 square metres. All the en-suites comply. As such, the shared communal space at the back needs to be 22.5 square metres. It is 24.1, so it would exceed the minimum guidance size there. Officers feel as well, in terms of the overall configuration and light and amenity to each room, that the occupiers would have a reasonable standard of accommodation. Like the last application, there is a full-height glazed window to the ground floor bedroom that would look down the light well. In terms of the physical extensions, there is a 3-metre rear permitted development extension at the ground floor. This element here, just up diagonally from number 7, is a small rear wing element. You can see the rear wall is there at the moment, looking at next door. So that's a small element. That room basically shifts further from the existing in order to accommodate the ensuite. And then the normal roof extensions and roof lights to the front. existing elevations. So you can see that side element I was pointing out just now with its full height glazing, looking down the light well, the rear permitted development and the roof permitted developments. Forecourt for bins and bicycle storage to the rear section through the property, and then a collection of views through the existing property. First, it's clearly under some sort of renovation already, removal of the internal remodelling works taking place, you can see in a moment. So looking down the light well on the left, the second image is in the existing large knock-through lounge. So we're standing at the front of the house looking through to the back. Then if you turn round, that's looking into the front. That was already knocked through, according to the plans, into 2 rooms into 1. This image is looking down the rear wing through the doors to the conservatory. So that wall will be knocked out, and the 3-metre permitted development will be built beyond that. Looking down the garden here, here's the existing rear, that would be extended. And into the rooms at the top, already some roof works taking place, as you can see from some of the images, ready to change the heights and accommodate the roof extensions when they wish, as it is permitted development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. There are no deputations, I'm sure, in the room, but I'd like now to move to questions, please. Nick.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at room 1 here, again, we've got some roof lights. I noticed that the room's exactly the same size as room 1 that we spoke about in Powers Court Road. But these light wells look considerably smaller. I was wondering if you could let us know exactly how large these roof lights are, and if you're happy with the amount of light that you think they're going to let in.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, so the roof lights in question, they do look smaller than the previous application. I think the fact that there's still 2 of them, I think, is helpful in terms of getting some reasonable amount of light into that room. The amount of window pane, I think, would be akin to a regular size window. And of course, in terms of light, they're facing the sky more than a vertical window. So I think the light into the room should be okay. Thank you, David, as well. It's south-facing, which also assists. And then the height as well, I think, is the same sort of height, depending exactly how tall you are. It's around about this sort of height, chin height, chest height, in order to, once you pop it open, you can at least see out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? With your permission, then we'll move on to comments and recommendations. Councillor Mason.
This looks like a standard Apple Core redevelopment. All the rooms are the right size. It's not a particularly beautiful place, but it does meet our basic requirements. And I can see no reason to turn this one down, so I propose the officer's recommendation.
Chair, can you just pop your mic?
Thank you, Councillor Vallely, for seconding that, and Councillor Mason for proposing the officer's recommendation. Shall we, are there any other decisions? No. Okay. We'll move to a vote for granting conditional planning permission as described at the end of this report. Can I have all those in favour of granting permission? Thank you. Counted? All those against? Thank you. So therefore, no abstentions. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our business today, with the exception that we want to give David Hodge the opportunity to give us an appeal update. You recall we've had some very useful presentations of how our previous refusals have been dealt with by the Inspectorate. David, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So we'll just get the presentation up. So we've had two decisions since the previous committee. These are both in relation to decisions made under our delegated authority. So the first application was an application for erection of a dwelling house adjacent to an existing garage court at Walford Road. So if we go just to the location, we're in Paulsgrove here, and on the left-hand side of the aerial view, you can see in the centre of that is an existing garage court, and then the site is to the right, where you can sort of see the green building there. So it's tucked in behind the existing properties. And access through the garage court to get into from Walford Road from the existing access. So the scheme on the next slide is for a single-storey, two-bed dwelling. So on the right-hand side, you'll see how it would have been laid out on the site. A couple of parking spaces, gated entrance, two bedrooms, with the bedrooms facing onto the parking court, and then a garden area, terrace for the occupiers. Our concerns in terms of the reasons. Oh, I'll show you the. If you're on the next slide, you can see. Sorry, this comes out really dark on the presentation. But these are CGIs, and but you'll hopefully get the flavour that it was a very contemporary style building. So our concerns in relation to the application was the sort of cramped and nature of the site, tucked in behind the other properties, effectively being an overdevelopment, that we were concerned that it was unneighbourly in relation to the properties, particularly to the south on Abbey-Dore Road, and there also there was potential conflicts from increased traffic movement for occupiers going in and out from the garage court, particularly if they were on foot, and they hadn't at the time secured the habitats mitigation for the impacts on nutrients and protected bird sites. So in terms of the inspector's decision, so we weren't supported on appeal in relation to this, so they allowed the scheme and granted the property. They felt it didn't look unduly cramped overall. Its height was comparable overall to the adjacent garage blocks and outbuildings, and overall there was an openness they felt would be retained, and so it would integrate into the broader character of the area. A particular point they gave weight to on a couple of the reasons was there was an existing permission for just a garage building on the side of a similar footprint, so they gave weight to that in terms of those issues about character, and as you'll see in relation to highways as well, and they were satisfied that that fallback position was comparable. In terms of the impact on the neighbouring properties, then they were satisfied that there was a large outbuilding towards the rear of number 36 that would screen sufficiently the new property. As it was single storey, it didn't create any privacy issues because the windows looked into the garden or the garage court and not into neighbouring gardens, and also by that low height overall they would not be overbearing or cause a loss of outlook for neighbours. We had raised a concern about the unlit parking court for anyone looking there, but they were satisfied that as the local authority we still had control over that and we could address any issues with lighting to that parking court if necessary. And then just on the final issue, which is in relation to highway safety, they noted that speeds are likely to be low anyway because there's a fairly restricted visibility, but also again they gave weight to the fallback position of the existing garage and a likely similarity in the traffic movements. And the applicant had dealt with the habitat site through a suitable agreement, so that bit was allowed. Excuse me. The second decision was for a change of use from C3 to a C4 HMO, which was refused under delegated authority. So the site was 39 Norfolk Street. So if we go to looking at the location, although it's in, the address is Norfolk Street, it's the block faces onto Gloucester Place. So it's a flat in that three-storey post-war block, an existing three-bed flat, and you can see the building in its context there. I knew my voice was going to give out. Just moving on to the next slide. The layout was in effect unchanged, so it would be 3 occupiers, which following the changes would constitute a C4 small HMO. There's an existing layout as is. So on the right-hand side, we have our assessment, and looking at the number of properties within 50 metres of the site, we established that with the addition of this as a HMO, we would get to 8 in 54 properties within 50 metres, and that was 14.8%. The applicant, the appellant tried to contest the data on the basis that it should only account for buildings that are within the 50-metre radius rather than the plot itself, but we're pleased to see the inspector followed how the guidance is set out in the SPD in supporting us on that issue. So there were 2 reasons for refusal for us. So firstly, that we would exceed the 10% threshold and fail to meet the mixed and balanced communities. Secondly, technical failure against the layout of the property in terms of both the bathroom and WC facilities and the overall living dining space for occupiers. So in terms of the mixed and balanced community, then we were supported on this, which is excellent. So the inspector accepted our data and concluded in line with the SPD and the policy that an additional HMO would not support the mixed and balanced community. In relation to the living conditions, they did not support us on this, and it's worth remembering this, that if there is a minor technical failure against the data of the standards in the SPD, not necessarily going to give us a strong reason for refusal that we can defend. We've often had debates about usable corridors, things being 0.1 under the space standards, etc. So it's just a reminder that the technical failure under some of those requirements isn't necessarily going to give us a strong reason for refusal. And in this instance, and as you see, it's you would have 3 occupiers in a 3-bed flat, and they were satisfied that that was an adequate layout and facilities for the occupiers, but nonetheless it was refused due to the breaching the 10% rule. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions or comments from anybody? I think it's very good to have those statements. It's very interesting, particularly the business about the living space, which I must say, if I'd been looking at the plan, I would have thought for 3 people was, even though separated, was okay. Very interesting. Thank you very much. If there are no questions or further business, I'd like to just check the date of the next meeting. Is this the last one before Christmas?
There's one 2 weeks' time, 17th is scheduled.
So this
Chair.
time we have, I thought it was a very short turnover. We have one on the 17th, and I hope we'll all be here together to make some more decisions in the public interest. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you on the 17th. And thank